You know, there was a time in my past when my friends and my family, they thought I was destined for nothing more than a bowl of pudding. But now, of course, we know that I am the unbeatable champ of AI image generation. And in conclusion, I'd just like to thank everybody who believed in me, and it's just great to be the unbeatable #1 image model of all time with no possibility of anyone ever being better than me. Oh boy. The folks at Bytedance just keep knocking it out of the park, don't they? Most recently, we covered their Seedream animation model, and now they're coming up against Nano Banana with the Seedream4 model, and I gotta tell you, it's pretty freaking good. Now, is it really a Nano Banana killer? Well, why don't we find out together? First, let's look at some of the features. Now, of course, they have the prompt-based editing, which is the foundation of all of these chat-to-edit models, where you can take an image, give it a simple instruction like remove the boy in this picture, and it'll do it. Change the lighting, change the text, that kind of stuff. That kind of technology seems like old news, doesn't it? And it was just a miracle months ago. Another expectation of these types of models is that you would have a lot of different styles at your disposal. Got some examples here like change the texture of the brand name into bronze, knitted, origami, and building block, and you've got those results right here. Now, one of the defining characteristics of the Seedream model is its knowledge of the real world, allowing us to do things like math or draw a timeline from events in history. This video is sponsored by the design platform, which I've talked about many times, and they give us a really easy way to compare these models. Right out of the gate, let's test these models with some real world knowledge and its ability to handle text. I'm going to go to text to image here. I'm going to choose the Seedream4 model just to begin with. And let's say, create a recipe card with a recipe for Granny's no-bake brownies with a bee and butterfly visual theme. So I'm not telling it what the recipe is or giving it any ingredients. So let's just click on generate and see what it comes up with. Here's the image we have that is undoubtedly beautiful, but we don't have the actual text for the recipe. So just to be fair to both models, let's go ahead and specify with a full recipe written out for Granny's no-bake brownies. In this case, when we get the generation, we see that they are trying to put the text here, but it's a little garbled. Now, this is something I've discovered on my own that I'm sharing with you now. If that happens and you're in the design platform, turn off Prompt Improver and try it again. Because the Prompt Improver is adding all of these words to the prompt and it really doesn't need it. Now we have a nice bee and butterfly themed card with a full recipe for Granny's no-bake brownies. And we can go through the text and find that there are no misspellings whatsoever. Now, let's use Nano Banana for the exact same prompt. I'm going to go back over here, choose that model, make sure the prompt improver is off and click generate there. Now here's what Nano Banana gave us. Again, we have the full recipe, but if you look at the text, we have granulad sugar, unsclend cacao, and 5-tup peanut butter. So although it understood the instructions, the execution, particularly in the text area, was not that great. Let's generate example images one more time from scratch, and then we'll get into the editing features. Let's go back and choose the Seedream4 model. For this example, I want to do more of a movie poster, so I'm going to choose the 9:16 aspect ratio, and let's create this prompt. A movie poster for a scary movie called Welcome to Clownville, featuring a scary clown holding a chainsaw and a moody circus theme, rated R, credits along the bottom of the image. So let's just generate that again using the Seedream4 model. All right, so here it is. Welcome to Clownville, scary clown, R. Doesn't really look like a full-on movie poster, but it's directed by John Doe, so you know that's going to be good. Let's switch over to Nano Banana. We'll keep the instructions the same. And what happens is we see one of the limitations of the Nano Banana model, and that is that it seems to be pretty heavily censored. Your generation request was declined by our supplier. That would be Nano Banana or Google. Due to content moderation, please revise your image or prompt and try again. I don't want to. So now let's try some basic editing ability. We're going to go back and use this image here because we've got a lot that we can kind of play with. Once you have an image on the canvas here, you can simply click the chat editor, and that's going to give you access to several of these chat to edit models. Let's just go ahead and start with Nano Banana, and let's just change out the bee for something else. For example, replace the bee with a helicopter and click on generate. Here is the result with Nano Banana. It did replace the bee with a helicopter. Now let's try it with Seedream and see how it's different. We're just going to click Seedream here, replace the bee with the helicopter, and here's the Seedream helicopter, looking a little bit more realistic than the more cartoony one that Nano Banana came up with. Why don't we go ahead and place this image on the canvas and change out the butterfly for something. We'll go with Nano Banana, replace the butterfly with a realistic dragon with blue crystal wings. Very nice, Nano Banana. We'll choose the Seedream model here. We'll just paste the same prompt there and see what this comes up with. Here's Seedream. We definitely get the blue crystals on this one. Which one do you think followed the prompt the most? They both look realistic as dragons can do, and they're both covered with blue crystals. On the Seedream model, we have blue crystals all over the entire dragon, and on the Nano Banana model, we have the blue crystals just on the wings, which was the prompt. So it could be argued that in this case, the prompt adherence was a little bit better with Nano Banana, unless you look at this and go, that doesn't look like crystal to me. Fair enough. So now let's play a little bit with text editing. Let's say, change the text to read Mayhem in Las Vegas in an action style font. I don't even know what an action style font is, but let's see what Nano Banana thinks an action style font is. Here's what Nano Banana came up with. I don't know that we changed this very much to an action font, but it did change the text correctly. Let's see what Seedream does with it. Now see, that looks like an action font to me. So I think it's clear that in this case, Seedream wins in the prompt adherence, giving us a font that is much more action oriented than the other. The problem is, this isn't Vegas. Let's change that. Let's put this image on the canvas. We'll start with Nano Banana and we'll say change the background to the Las Vegas Strip. Here is Nano Banana's result. We still have the brownie, but the flowers are gone and we are definitely in Vegas. Here's the Seedream output. And again, I think we're just up against a stylistic choice. Do you personally like this darker, moodier look, where we've got cracked cement and things like that, or this brighter look? Both of them follow the prompt. Now, we've got a lot of stuff going on here, so let's see if we can change the background again and how much of the foreground here is maintained. So I'm going to put this on the canvas again. Starting again with the Nano Banana model, I'm going to say, change the background to the coldest place on Earth. I'm not telling it what the coldest place on Earth is. I'm not telling it any details of what that should look like. I'm asking Nano Banana to come up with that on its own. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the Seedream model. This one's done from Nano Banana, and whoa, that's pretty sweet. It did a little bit of rearranging, but it kept the key elements. We've still got our brownie. We've even got some flowers, and this does look like a pretty cold place. We got our dragon, got a helicopter. But here's Seedream, and once again, Seedream maintained more of those foreground elements without changing them. I did change the background to another very cold looking place. Is it the coldest place on Earth? I'd have to go to find out. Let's test this whole math thing. Not really my favorite subject. Let's see how Nano Banana and Seedream stack up against each other. A teacher is pointing to a chalkboard where she has solved the following math equation, showing her work. Solve for x. 2x times 3 equals 9. The answer we're looking for is 3, by the way. Let's click that and see what it comes up with. Meanwhile, I will switch over to Seedream and have it do the exact same equation. Here's Nano Banana's output. Take a look at a couple of things. It does get the answer correct. It is showing some work. The detail and the realism on the face isn't my favorite on this in this particular example. Let's look at Seedream. I believe, and you can agree or disagree, that the teacher here looks a little bit more realistic and she goes a little bit more in depth into showing her work. It says, step 1, well, first you want to subtract 3 from both sides, which she does. Simplify, divide both sides by 2, and x equals 3. So I think that even though they both got the right answer, the Seedream looks a little bit more real and it did a better job of showing its work. We're going to create a whole new image, again, a blue and velvet chair where one half is blue and one half is purple, sitting on a white background, and we'll iterate on that as we go along. So now we have this awesome chair suitable for Bob Doyle Media. Let's place it on the canvas. We'll click on the chat editor. We'll add a picture of Tracy with a cowboy hat. You're going to add the prompt, the woman is sitting on the chair. We'll start with Nano Banana, and then we'll set up the same prompt for Seedream4 and get that going. Okay, and here is the Nano Banana version, and here's one of the weaknesses that I'm finding with Nano Banana. It's doing way more of a simple cut and paste rather than naturally integrating her onto this image of the chair. Plus, she's a little bit small for that chair, don't you think? But we don't even see her knees. This is the Seedream output, and we see her whole body, and she seems much more naturally integrated into the image. She's sitting on the chair, even though it is a little bit big. We're going to put that on the canvas, and we're going to add a couple of different images to integrate into our next pass of editing. I'm just going to drag and drop a picture of the background of our studio here, and a copy of our Bob Doyle Media logo. We'll start with Nano Banana and say the background is the purple recording studio with the Bob Doyle Media logo hanging on the wall in the background. Do the exact same prompt with the Seedream model, and let's see who wins. This is the Nano Banana model, but we have lost the likeness of Tracy. We've got all the elements of her outfit. We do have the recording studio. We do have the logo in the background, but we've lost Tracy. Here is the Seedream model, and I think it pretty much nailed it. We've got her entirely sitting on the chair, even though the proportions are a little bit big, but we have to keep in mind that we've given it no reference for how big that chair is supposed to be. We have a version of the purple recording studio and the Bob Doyle media sign in the background. Let's do one more example with people where there's two people involved. Let's create a scene for them. I'm gonna go ahead and stick with the Seedream model here. I'm just gonna say an empty booth in an Italian restaurant, just to have some place for these two to sit. So now we have this. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the canvas and bring in two characters to sit here. We'll drag in a picture of me, and for grins, we'll bring in Presley. And we'll just say, the man and the woman are sitting in a booth eating pizza, using the Nano Banana model first, and then the Seedream model. This is the Nano Banana output. Now we have another example where I need to be extremely specific about leaving all the details the same. We'll do this again with Nano Banana, except I say, leaving the position and angle of the room the same, add the man and woman eating pizza sitting at the booth, and we'll generate that. Here's the reimagined Nano Banana model. Even though we said to leave everything the same in position, we've got a totally different angle and the likeness is not the same. The picture on the wall is similar, the tile on the wall is similar, but we don't have the angle I was looking for. We're going to run it again with the Seedream model with the same explicit instructions about position and the angle that we gave to the Nano Banana model. Here's the output with Seedream with those explicit instructions. We're both sitting there. This is the original image, and this is what it came up with. So again, the prompt adherence for Seedream definitely wins out. Now I could go on and on with examples like this. Sometimes Nano Banana is going to look a little bit better. Sometimes Seedream is going to look a bit better. But in my experience, if I had to declare a winner overall, it's got to be Seedream. If you've had a different experience or have tips on getting better output with prompting or whatever with either of these models, we'd love to hear about them in the comments because, hey, we're all learning together. If this is the type of stuff you'd like to keep up to date on, well, why not subscribe to this channel? Because this is what we do here all the time.
If you subscribe now, I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you do not, I will look for you. I will find you. And I